Whose Line Is It Anyways had that first game called Whose Line, I was like, holy shit, they have a game called Whose Line on Whose Line. That makes sense. So I think for our show, it
Mark
wouldn't
is
be
easily entertained.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. But sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
Go.
So therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?
Hi everyone, this is Mark.
And I'm Mike.
And I'm Jeff, and you're listening to What Do We Know?
Now let's play that game. What do you know?
All right, feed me. What do we got, Mark? I'm ready.
I'm
Okay,
less
so
confident, but go on.
So you guys want the trivia question, huh?
Guess.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'll go with
yes, I do.
I'll go with the easier one. Why are sperm whales called sperm whales?
Is this a true trivia question, or is this one of those, like,
Yes.
why does a house burn up as it burns down type of questions?
I was watching a video on History Channel. I think that's when I first learned about it.
I see Mike researching it on the internet. I am refraining from doing internet research.
Yeah, that would be cheating, Mike.
I was gonna say I would think that it has to do with the shape of them, but I don't think they look like sperm though, so I can't imagine.
No, I really don't know why either, now that you mention it. I don't even have an educated guess, I don't think. Unless it really has to do with, like, the amount of sperm they produce or something.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that sperm is completely out of the realm of possibilities of why they're called a sperm whale. So, I mean, you're sort of on a correct path.
Okay, go.
Well,
on.
I was hoping this segment's going to be more than me just telling you the answers. You guys could guess.
I mean, I did. I guessed shape, which is wrong. So is it the amount of sperm that they produce?
Well, that's actually getting closer as well, but not really.
Do they maybe, like, eat sperm or something weird? Like, I don't know.
They eat
krill.
so you're saying that sometimes, the whales would eat the people on boats, the seamen, and that's why they're called.
Is it because they get in packs of
Wait.
hundreds of thousands and only one make it to the target destination?
No.
Could it be because of their coloring?
Are they
Actually, coloring does have something to do with it.
Are they the color of sperm?
No.
Aren't they? Don't they have like white splotches all over them? Or is that a different kind of whale?
We named this whale because he looked like somebody jizzed all over the room, so we called him the sperm whale.
You said I was close.
Actually, Jeff, what you just said was very close to the answer.
That's totally what I was going for.
Okay, so the answer is sperm whales are called sperm whales because they, in the frontal lobe of the whale, it's where they collect some of the oils for when they were hunting whales for oil, and it has sort of a waxy look to it, which many sailors said looked like sperm. So it was called spermaceti, the oil that's collected from sperm whales, and then the whale was named after that.
So it was not close to a guy jizzing all over a room at all.
No, but it was because sperm whales' oil looks like sperm. They actually used to believe that even though this oil comes near the head of the whale, sailors used to believe that that's where the whale stored their sperm.
Oh, trivia.
Weird.
Entertainment. The more you know.
The more you know. Okay, and I have two more. One's a little bit more disturbing, so I'll save that for the last one. So the word nerd, where it comes from. I'm assuming.
I do not.
Mike?
I don't either.
Well, really, the term nerd
We now
comes...
have 3 more questions.
So, the term nerd is usually credited with Dr. Seuss.
Really? I
Yes.
didn't know that.
And I believe it was what I saw on Mulberry Street, but I'm not actually 100% sure on that. But it was
I read that book a million times, and I don't know that.
Yeah, one of the things that he saw was a nerd. And a nerd was just sort of like a creature. And then it was picked up later as I wouldn't say derogatory term, but the term for what do you call someone who's a nerd, I guess.
Oh, very
That's
good
not that
definition.
That's how I describe nerds. They're just nerds. Nerds.
I don't know.
Nerds.
I don't know which book it is, but it's not that book. There's no nerds in that book. That was Jacob's favorite book for a long time. I read it so many times.
Well, it is a Dr. Seuss book, but I mean, you might be right. Maybe our you two listeners could actually clear that up for us, or I could look on the.
Or he could have Googled it.
How about the word geek? So a lot of people know. Well, some people know where the term nerd comes from, but not necessarily where the term geek, which is basically synonymous with the term nerd. So, any ideas?
The Geek Squad. I'm sure it was first. That's
Yes,
the first time I ever heard the word.
Right on that one.
Geek.
From somebody getting scared at a really smart guy, and instead of saying eek, they said geek on accident.
Is it maybe like a play on like a combination of like genius and freak?
No, not really. That's a good guess, though.
Was it somebody with sperm on their forehead?
Well,
Secretes oils out of their head.
If
White and milky.
if someone back in the day had that ability, they might have been called a geek.
Was it based on Greek?
Not Greek. It's actually
German.
Low German.
Spanish. Oh.
Middle Low German was.
I was kidding when I said German, but
so it's.
I knew what you were doing. I was right there with you.
So,
But unfortunately, you guessed right.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's
it's
Italian.
So
Oh wait,
geek-
German.
So the word is an English dialect of geek or geck, which is the Low German.
What's that lizard in the Geico commercials?
The Low German term for fool or freak.
Oh. Huh?
You got freak.
Huh?
You got the freak part.
Huh?
So, especially because there's a movie coming out called Freak Show. It's actually where the term got popularized in the United States, in North America, because they used to call the freak show the geek show. So if somebody calls you a geek, they're basically calling you a freak.
Freaks.
You know, I'm going to give myself a half point on that one.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Let's say that I'm trying to think of the band is that they have the song called Freaks and Geeks. I mean, maybe they
Jeff,
knew the
you get 0
etymology
points on that one.
or etymology. What is it? Etymology?
Etymology.
Etymology.
I think.
Etymology.
E.T. Etymology.
Etymology. Okay.
I think. I could be way wrong.
Pamphlet.
Yeah, why'd you only do 3 of these? This is actually good. I like this, Mark. Find more facts. Give us more trivia.
Okay.
Hurry
Who
up.
sings?
Why didn't you do this?
Who
Why
sings
didn't you find more
the
trivia?
Gin and Juice remake? The country
remake?
version Gin and Juice remake.
I heard, like,
Is it Kid
Fish
Rock?
did a weird version of that.
So that's the one I'm talking about, and that's what everybody thinks. But Mark seems very concerned on not even knowing what this is. So
I don't.
There's another remake, like recent?
no, it's the same one. The entertaining thing about rolling down the street, smoking sipping on gin and juice. Does Mark have any idea what this is? I'm looking for a reaction from him. So apparently
I don't
not.
know.
So that
Would it be
lost it. But Mike,
I know the song. I mean Snoop Dogg.
no, he was the original. Like there was a remake.
Right.
It was a country like
Snoop Lion.
Snoop. Yes, it was Snoop Lion. Actually, it was Snoop Cat. But no, so everybody thinks it was Fish, and that's where I was going to take it because I assumed instantly both of you guys would be like Fish, of course. But no, it's actually the Gourds. Fish somehow just got credit for it, and I think it's because of the fact that it came out when Napster was big. And
Oh yeah, I was totally gonna say like that happened on a semi-regular basis
Yep.
when like the file sharing services were super huge. So
they would
yeah, that
put the
doesn't
wrong
surprise
title in it, but it would be the download that
me.
gets popular. So hundreds of thousands of people have a mislabeled song now.
Including me. I have that on one of my
Yep,
like external
I
hard
also
drives.
do. Not that I ever used illegal file sharing sites such as
Oh no,
Oh,
yeah, me. No, I
that'd be
think
wrong.
I think Jeff gave it to me. Need to arrest someone.
you know, so this is kind of speaking of illegal file sharing services. Somebody at my work the other day came up to me and was like, "Oh, by the way, I got a buddy who works for Rosetta Stone and has a CD of theirs that has 26 different languages, levels 1 and 2, that he said I can sell. Like, he's got a case of them. I guess they discontinued them. So he's got a case of them that he's selling for like $20 a piece. And I was like, really? $20 a piece for these languages that cost like $600
Hundreds.
to buy
Yeah.
like each one. And he's like, yeah, my buddy works there. It was like a product that they were gonna release them all like to the school, blah blah blah. So I was like, let me see one of these. He goes, okay, and he hands it to me, and it's a CD in a CD.
Did they not even burn like a cover onto it, or?
It's well, no. So I can actually.
Oh,
It's backwards, but it's like standard old CD case. And I was grabbing it, and I was like, you know the difference that you could tell between feeling a normally wrapped product and a home shrink wrapped product.
right.
Like home shrink wrap is very like crinkly and crisp, as opposed to like production shrink wrap is more like it's smooth and like. I was like, what's going on with this? And I looked at it, and I'm looking with my eyes, and it's really blurry on the front. You can't really tell, but it's printed off of a printer, obviously. What are you trying to pull here? And he was like, no, this is completely legit. You know, let me even show it to you. So the idiot shows me this thing, and he goes, I have an open one here. Check this one out. So he gets me the disc, and I'm like grabbing it, and I turn it over. First thing I do is turn it over. I mean, you guys can see that.
Yeah.
It's purple. It's obviously a homemade CD.
It's not a pressed one.
So
yeah.
I'm looking at it, and I was like, dude, what are you trying to pull with this thing? You can't be selling this thing for any type of money when it's obviously a bootlegged copy. He apparently has been selling them to everybody at the hospital.
Oh no, he's gonna get in so much trouble.
Well, and that's the thing. I didn't know that it was still a big thing to sell physical copies of products of something. He went through the production value. He bought a super fancy CD duplicator machine that automatically like labels them and everything. So he's invested all this money into like some like labeler, stamper, all this crazy stuff. So he's like, fine, just take this copy, blah, 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 because I'm like, I'm going to check this thing out when I get home, because I'm curious what he's selling to all these people who obviously don't know the difference with, what a bootleg copy is. This thing is the most atrocious thing. It's obviously just straight up downloaded from some website. It's even got like the text file in it that tells you what trackers like it used to download. And it's so non-intuitive that you have to install like hacks and actually run key generators and things like that. I'm like, what do you think these people are doing with this thing when they get home?
I mean, do you really believe that he didn't have any idea?
No, of course he did. He ended up admitting it to me later that he's trying to do this to make a buck. He needs to get money. He just didn't expect to be caught, because I guess most nurses aren't that smart when it comes to like technology stuff. But he happened to catch the guy with the computer engineering background and IT masters. And
Well, I don't.
My first initial thought is, why do people buy stuff like that anymore? Like, you can go to iTunes U and probably learn like level 1 of any language you want to learn, and everything is available on YouTube. Like I'm not sure why you would purchase this.
Well,
stuff
I mean, I guess my argument would be, if anybody under the age of 25, under 30, 40 even, whoever torrented anything, they would know exactly what this is. This isn't like something that you could pull 10 years ago.
well, the thing is, in like the industry where I work, everybody's not technologically savvy. I actually helped somebody yesterday do their homework. She's going back to school, and one of her initial classes is some basic computer classes, essentially like the one that I'm teaching. And the first assignment was literally, I was helping her in Word, left a line and right a line in bold and italicized things. So people aren't necessarily like up on the technology, which I understand. My main thought process is if you're going to try to run a shady, illegal business, you have to make it look legit in some way, shape, or form when you get the software at home. These people aren't going to understand how to run key generators and still think that they're like, this obviously is like a legit product that I'm purchasing with this key generator and turning off a firewall. Like,
that's weird.
That's more where I'm confused. Is I know anybody's going to try to sell anything that they want, to make a lot of money. I'm surprised at the value that went into putting it together in CD case, papers, labels, all that fun stuff. It's a digital industry now. Like, you'd have a better time buying a bunch of cheap flash drives for like $2 a piece when you can get like the 4 gig flash drives, and you could be like, dude, this new product. It's Rosetta Stone on a flash drive, $20. That's gonna be people be like, oh my god, I get a flash drive and the program for $20, and you ignore all of this garbage. Now I'm teaching you guys how to sorry YouTube videos. I'm YouTube fans. I'm not trying to tell you how to run an illegal business, but I just don't understand the thought process.
Well, for me, I wouldn't even go bother with any physical form. I would just upload it to some kind of cloud, like Mega Download or something like that.
How are you going to make money off of that then?
Then give the person the password that lets them access the software.
Only for $20?
Like, yeah, give me $20. I'll give you the website and the password. Basically, download the stuff, and then you don't have to make any copies. You can sell an unlimited amount. If I was going to do anything illegal, which I wouldn't. But.
Mike, how would you run an illegal business?
I would not talk about it on a podcast. This is how I would do it, personally.
I just don't get it. I'm shocked that people are still, because that's such an easy thing to get caught with, too. I mean...
Right, and they could trace you easily enough.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you'd have a bunch of people who would be like, he did it.
Well, and hospitals are full of cameras, I'm assuming, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about going back through, camera footage or whatever if they really had to. I don't know. I just found it weird, and it was sitting in front of me at my desk, and I was...
That is weird and all, but I really want to know this third fact. I want to think about this.
Okay.
I need more facts.
Okay, so here's my last question. It's a little...
I forgot we were still on the trivia thing.
So here's the last.
I want more trivia.
What is the youngest age a girl has given birth to a child? Recorded.
Probably
I would say 12.
11.
So I want to tell you why I even looked this up. In Britain...
I don't know we want to hear this story.
What's the age consent in Japan there, Mark?
In Britain, there was a story about a 13-year-old boy being the youngest age boy, I think at least in the UK, that gave birth to a child. And I saw this on Facebook. Somebody was really upset.
Slow down. You're burying the lead here.
So
a 13-year-old boy?
Yeah, so...
He's the youngest boy ever to give birth to a child.
Not birth, a father, a child. Okay, so there's so there's this 15-year-old girl who got pregnant and claimed that this 13-year-old boy was the father, and it was in the British tabloids for quite a while. And Sony just posted something on Facebook, I think last week, saying how outraged they were that this is the decay of. And how immoral society is today, 13-year-olds having kids when they're still kids. If you look, I mean, this is actually recent, what they investigated, they did blood work, and of course, this 13-year-old child is not the father. It's actually a 15-year-old boy. I'm not exactly sure why they thought the 13-year-old boy might have been the father. Maybe they he had sex with the 15-year-old girl. Not 100% sure on the facts, but it got me started thinking like, oh, what is the oldest and what is the youngest person to have children, right? So the answer to this question is 5 years old and 7 months is the youngest age a
What? How is that possible?
female. Yeah, so at first when I read this, I didn't buy it. I was thinking biologically they wouldn't be ready, like physically, to nurture or grow a child. But this girl in Peru, she was 5 years old and 7 months. She got pregnant. They tested to see if it was the father that got her pregnant, but apparently not. So they don't know who the father is. But that's the youngest recorded age, and I don't know exactly all the facts per se, but I checked Snopes. They say it's a true story. A couple other places says it's a true story. It's documented in Western history, although they didn't. She gave birth in Peru, I think, and not like any facilities in the States. I
When
don't know
was
if
this?
that matters. This was in 1939.
Oh, Jesus, long time ago. I thought you were gonna say like
So-
new.
And apparently, this girl started having periods at 3 years old. She stopped menstruating for a while, but and then she got pregnant, and the family apparently took her into the hospital at first, thinking that she had some kind of tumor.
There's so many things about this I don't trust. I know you said a lot of places back this up or whatever, but I immediately think about, especially when you're talking about in the 30s, like record keeping was not exactly what it is now.
Right.
Down there, especially, like,
Well, they did actually have medical scientists from the States go down to investigate this, and they just
in
chose
the
not
30s, though.
yeah, in the 40s, 1939.
So I still, number one, I mean, the technology was not anywhere near what it is now back then.
Well,
Like, how do they verify that? How do
Well,
you even test if a person is really 5 years old?
they went through her birth record, so
Those can be forged. We've
they
seen
can be
that.
forged.
time
They
and
have a
time,
picture of the child, and while she's pregnant, and she looks extremely young. I don't know if you could have someone
Yeah, but-
that's 13 and look this young, but
Well, our buddy Matt is like 32 and looks 12. So
right, but he doesn't look like he's 6 or 7 or 5.
that's true. I don't know. I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I don't know, because they have pictures of her and the child and her being pregnant, and they have
Well, it's just kind of
it.
what's really weird is so many coincidences that have to line up properly, being that she
Right.
happens to be the one child that's young enough with the biological makeup that allows her to carry a child, and as well, for some reason, is either like molested or raped or has sex on her own at such a young age to get pregnant.
Well,
Like,
for,
And
for
I don't
me,
wanna- Oh, go ahead.
yeah, that part doesn't shock me all that much from where she's from. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on down there. I mean, you hear about it all the time. Children sold into, prostitution and all that kind of stuff. So,
in Peru
Um,
in the 30s? Was that really big in Peru in the 30s?
well, there's
e-
still all kinds of weird stuff
even
going
still,
on down there.
like I would say, even in the States, if let's say kids for whatever reason could have children at that young of an age, that would probably be not a lot, hopefully, but there'd still probably be several cases a year, because I'm sure there's children being molested everywhere.
Yeah, like right now, isn't that influx of kids trying to cross the border right now? Isn't that from? I don't know if it's from Peru or Argentina, but it's somewhere down there right now that kids are making this trek on their own
All right.
without their parents. Their parents send them up because it's so bad down there.
And one of the things in Iraq and Syria is that a lot of the people that are being captured by ISIS or whatever are being sold as sex slaves or whatever. And,
Right.
age sometimes doesn't even seem to matter on who they marry off or whatever they do with these young children.
So what's the
So,
oldest?
I actually don't know the oldest. So
I want to say it's
Oh,
71.
I was going to say I feel like this one would
Did you
have a
look that
lot
up?
more change.
No, I read an article on it
I think I read an article that
last
said
year.
something.
Well, the funniest thing was it was doctor assisted, like here's fertility medications, fertility drugs, things like that. And the funniest thing about the article is one doctor was helping somebody, and if I recall, they were 68 years old. And this other doctor came out completely like blasting them and saying how medically horrible that was what he was doing, and the biological makeup of somebody when they're 68 is no way to support a child, and the length of time that the child will get with their parents even if the birth does happen. Like, he came out with this paper like blasting on this doctor for having the audacity to do this. And then 2 years later, that doctor is the one who assisted the 71-year-old into getting pregnant. And I was just like, wait a what? This doesn't make any sense.
People change their mind.
Yeah.
Well, people can change their mind. What do you think? Do you think that older people should be allowed to have kids?
I think, well, when you're...
It sounds like being like a Gestapo or something like, oh, you're over 50, you can't have kids.
But like
So Mark says neuter him at 50.
Yeah, if you need that much medical assistance to even conceive, I think you're probably going to run into a lot of medical problems in the long run with the pregnancy, and therefore end up bringing a child into the world who is not medically up to snuff, quote unquote. Though that sounds like horrible to say, but I think you're increasing that risk way too much. As well as if you're 70 years old, you've got maximum 30 years with your child,
Yeah, I was
which
going
is
to say,
actually
to me,
decent amount of time, but
to me, it just kind of seems selfish. Like, you're not going to be able to, like me, I can flop down on the floor with my young kids and, crawl around or let them crawl on me or whatever, to have fun with them, where I can chase them around a mall if they escape, like, I just feel like you don't have the ability to care for them like a younger person would. Do you need that ability? I guess I don't know.
Well, here's the thing where I would have an issue. I'm not saying that people who are older shouldn't necessarily have kids, but to say that it's okay for a 90-year-old man to impregnate a 20-year-old girl. I mean, technically that can happen.
Yeah, high five.
No, I mean that can happen, right? And you basically have the same issues. Why not let someone who's medically can't do it themselves?
I don't think a 90-year-old dude should be having kids either, though.
Right.
I mean,
right.
But he is just more likely to be able to successfully pull it off without medical help.
But would you be as outraged? Like, oh my gosh, this guy's 90 years old and having kids? That's an outrage.
I would bet you, however, the 90-year-old who knocks up a 20-year-old wasn't planning on knocking up a 20-year-old. Whereas a 71-year-old was planning on getting pregnant and medically was trying with the assistance of fertility drugs and things like that.
Right, but that's going to happen more common now, especially with all the medical assistance with pregnancy. I don't think that's necessarily, let's say, wrong that someone seeks to get medical help and conceives that way.
At 71?
Yeah, because I mean, at 71, it could be natural. Are you going to go and judge people just because they're older for having kids at an older age?
I can't imagine wanting kids at that old of an age. Like, that's the part that really gets me about all this.
And
it's like, at that point in your life, you're supposed to be settling down and, like, you're tired from...
Also,
life.
though, isn't that, in a way, a better time? Because you're not working, so that gives you almost a lot more time with your kids.
Who says you're not working?
Well, I'm assuming that if you're paying for all this medical treatment, you have the money... because it's not necessarily cheap.
Well, you had the money until you paid for all the medical treatments.
Right, but let's say you have the the money and you could support your kids and you're not working. And if you're retired, you're hopefully in a pretty secure, stable environment.
But I don't think. Yeah, you're going to have more time, but it goes back to the quality of the time. I just don't think it's going to be as enriching for you or for the kids, for that matter.
Isn't there an argument to say that, a parent who's in their 30s that's working overtime and maybe have babysitters or whatever, they're giving less quality time? Just because you're more able doesn't mean that you're giving more quality time. If you're
I suppose.
if you're in 70 and you could read a book and you're reading a book to a child, that's a lot of quality time.
Are you planning on waiting until you have kids till you're 70? Is that why you're having this argument, Mark?
Tell my wife, but I'm thinking about 90 or 100 where I only have to deal with my kids before they hit the teenage years, and then I'm gone. Gone. I'm planning to live forever, so of course 90 is nothing to me, Jeff. I'm planning to live forever.
Well, but the first I would say first 3 years are like the rough ones, though.
I'll let my wife handle it.
Yeah, those are labor intensive.
I'll just pick up a lot of overtime those years. Good for Mark being such an old person advocate.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to download all the episodes of What Do We Know from wdwkpodcast.com. If you're listening to us on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you.